Hello, welcome to the channel. Yes, that will be our introduction from here on forward. Anyway, today I've been thinking about getting older and what it means and everything in between. I think getting older means you are seeing a lot of the repercussions and also the consequences of people's decisions over a long period of time. And it also means that you are releasing a lot of infatuations, a lot of things that you used to put on a pedestal when you were younger, and kind of seeing like the reality of things a lot more rather than only being in the foreground of things rather than being in the beginning of things. Like one of the things that I used to be really passionate about was like, getting rich and being under this philosophy of rich dad, poor dad. If you don't know what that is a book uh, series started with the first book, which is Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I'm not going after him or I'm not having a go at him by any means. I'm just saying that that's the book that I encountered when I was 18 years old. And I was so into that book. I bought like the board games and everything. I got my friend into it. And I guess I just really got stuck into the mindset of it as well. And I think maybe it kind of ruined me, but then again, maybe it's just me. Um, the philosophy behind that is basically saying that you should be a business owner and not an employee and not, uh, you know, being a partnership and stuff like that, like being a business owner and also being an investor is the fastest way for you to get really, really rich. And back then, like the man's story was like he was 35, his wife was 25, and there were this really young couple that got really rich and got really into passive income. I think that's like the first book that kind of introduced me to the idea of passive income, and it stuck until now. Even now, if I wanted to break out of it, I can't. Um, but following that story, like I kind of went on with it for a while, like even up until 2008, 2009. I kind of let go of it, of course, like after 2010 and then 12. Of course, that's the cutoff point for me. If you guys been here long enough, like 2012 is when my mom died, and that's when everything kind of just like a line being drawn in my life. Like I was employed, I was doing all the normal things that people are doing, employed full time, had my degrees, did all of that, was you know going just a normal way of career wise and stuff. And I kind of just dropped everything and decided that I wanted to try to, get my own money and make it my own business, being a solopreneur and stuff like that. So yeah, but I was really I was really into the topic and that kind of, mindset, like poor dad, rich dad. In the book, they like Robert Kiyosaki emphasized a lot about how his real dad, which is his poor dad, was an administrator in a education public system or in an education system anyway. And they are always relying on income and other people's decisions to get a promotion, to raise their income and everything. And it's fixed, while his rich dad is basically his friend's dad, who is a business owner and owns properties and basically making money from investments. And if you follow like the series, you can also know that he went to the military, or he went to the army. He went to war, I think. Robert Kiyosaki did, and came back, and he was going to pursue his MBA, but he decided not to. He decided to go down the property route and become an investor instead, and choosing that, like, and I think in one of his book, I remember vividly, like he was saying by the time he was 35, he was, I think, earning 3 grand per month by just renting out properties. And he said, like, 3 grand is not much, but it's something that I earn without actually having to go to work. So that's where the idea of passive income is becoming really attractive. And I really bought into it. I was in my late teens and early 20s, and very easily influenced. And I feel like I'm still influenced, even though I'm 40 years old. I feel like I am that pageant girl that is so brainwashed into believing that you have to be pretty and you have to be this and you have to be that, but in terms of money. So yeah, so I am, but being 40 means that you get to see like a 20 something, 20 plus years continuation of that story, because he didn't die. He still exists, and I haven't I'm not dead yet, so I'm still exist. So recently, I think somewhere on TikTok, probably, I find out that he's divorced now. His lovely young bride back then was only just 25 years old, divorced him, and he's now a divorcee of the 70s something. Um, he's rich, but he's still a divorcee, and I think he actually said something along the line. Uh, Yeah, she basically said to me that she was sick of my and then she just divorced me. Like, when I think he was in a podcast with some other person, like, on a podcast somewhere. And I was like, wow, wow. If my 18-year-old self and my 20-year-old self could hear this, because like back then we didn't have any social media whatsoever, so whatever's being fed to us is whatever we have. Especially if people are not that famous, like they couldn't, like, the only thing that we have is the newspaper is probably being bought, like they probably pay to get that marketing article out. So we don't get point of views, like different point of views from different angles like we do now, like on TikTok, right? So yeah, when I saw that, when I watched that particular clip or videos, I was like, oh my God. And he said, like, but I'm very rich now, but I'm rich in debt. So I think like the way he got rich is different now. The way he got rich is no longer like actually buying properties and things like that. I think the way he does it now is, I think, borrowing through life insurance or something, which is how you I think how it is being advised on TikTok. Anyway, that's a different thing altogether. But my point of view about that is, you just have to be careful, like what you believe in, especially if you're young, and what you buy into. But then again, it's also a rite of passage that you are buying into an idea or an ideology. Maybe it is a fad, maybe it is just a trend, and then it'll just pass and you just keep going with your life. But I feel like sometimes hardcore beliefs need to be examined, and you need to be careful to what you buy into, because it can damage you a lot. And I feel like by believing in this particular mindset, like, people who work or people who don't know how to basically get rich or how to do all of these. Like in the past, I would believe it, but now I feel like, oh, I'm the stupid one. But I guess, like, as an adult, that's probably what you learn. I'm the stupid one, because people who was employed for 20 odd years now are the ones that have stable housing, stable family, have stable income, stable nest egg money to invest in for their future, for their retirement. And I'm not saying that if you're into business and into all these things that I'm doing as well, you're wrong. You're not, because I feel like I am incapable of being an employee, mainly because like the way my body and my brain is set up is just not suitable for that, because it's just not suitable. So being a solopreneur is my way of trying to survive, trying to thrive, trying to keep going with life. Um, So I'm not regretting my decisions at all because I feel like this is the best lifestyle for me personally, because otherwise I would be bedridden and probably filled with a lot more sickness than I do now. But at the same time, I mean, if you're healthy and if there is no other excuses for you, like besides that you don't want to feel like you are trapped inside institution, which is a very valid thing. But I mean, if you can cop it, if you're one of those people who don't really take a lot of seriousness, like you don't take it seriously of office politics, and you have that feeling that things just keep changing anyway, and you're okay with just sticking into one thing for a long time. You know what your goal is. You know that you're not there to like build a whole fancy career. For example, maybe you're just there so that you can buy your own place. So you just can keep collecting that paycheck. That's okay. I feel like you're valid about that, and there's nothing wrong. I guess like for as a former passive income, trying to reach that illusion or that delusion or that target in my mind, like this passive income lifestyle, this nomad lifestyle, because that's basically how I was thinking like back in 2012. It's like, yeah, I definitely wanted to try. I can do this. I can't. I'm failing to do it. um, Instagram was new back in 2012. I think it was only 2 years old or something, and a lot of people was actually making Instagram nomad lifestyle money. Like, we are in Cabo or whatever, we are in Paris, and we are working here. So back then, it was just starting out, and everyone was doing it, and it was one of those things that is being sold as a low barrier to entry and easy, and I guess I'm just not cut out for it. I guess I don't have the talent for it, because now, even 12 years later, 13 years later, I still haven't cracked it yet. So I guess you just have to, if you're young, if you have the talent just to put up with a lot of bull, you just go for it. You just stick it out. And then, of course, you jump ship when there is a better opportunity for you and like a higher paycheck, maybe after 5 years. And people will probably just talk badly about you, but who cares? They're always going to talk badly about you anyway. And you just, get that money. And I guess like the younger generation understand this game and better than the older one. I don't know. Actually, I don't know about the older one. But yeah, it's okay. Just focus on you. Focus on collecting that money and focus on your health for sure. It's like never ever compromise your health, because they don't care at the end of the day. But having that perspective as an older person of seeing like your idols basically, like things that you thought like they got together, just went downhill, and just like showing their own dramas, like showing the reality of things, is really comforting because you just think, no one has it together. It's like I actually went and paid in 2006, went and paid for this course called Angel Intuitive, which is a 3-day course in Sunshine Coast, for Doreen Virtue, PhD, Hay House. First of all, her PhD got stripped down. And second of all, she had basically turned her back on the metaphysic community, and she basically a reborn Christ follower now. So she's basically a reborn Christian. So if you can search on YouTube that she's like basically um, saying things like, "Oh, angels is demon or whatever." Like, I think, and it's not really. It's basically going against what she used to teach, and she's talking badly about what she used to teach and stuff. And I'm like, people paying money for that. Like there were like thousands of people in that room, and she was on a tour. So, and back then she was like married to this Stephen Farmer guy, which she divorced after a while. And but I just feel like, I guess neurotypical world is so confusing for me. I realize like that's what I don't like about my brain is the fact that if someone tells me something, I literally pick it up and say, okay, that's the truth. I'm gonna trust what you said. But of course, like as you get older, you realize like a lot of things that is being said is lies. A lot of things that being said is not being reinforced. And a lot of things that happen to you usually happen not because it's your fault, but because it's the way you're being presented into the world. Like it can be the color of your skin, where you come from, what your appearance look like, and it's extremely discouraging, especially for me, because people judge you straight away because they think, oh, you are dumb, or you are mentally challenged, or you are a gold digger, or something like that. I probably are all of those things, maybe, maybe not. But I don't think so. And I feel you can't really know someone until you have a proper conversation and also spend a bit of time with them and kind of like realize where they are in their life and what kind of situation they're in, what their background is, because those things really matter a lot at the end of the day. But I think as an older person, I feel, I know I'm 40 years old, but I guess I'm talking about like getting older, and because being 40 means I have 20 years on a 20-year-old, and that's a lot. Like that's double their life, right? But the fact is that when you are 20, you're not really 20, because you spent most of your 20, which is like 18 years, 17 years of that 20 years is being spent growing up and, developing your bodies, developing your mental aptitude, and just figuring things out. You're not meant to figure things out in your 20s. The best thing that you can have throughout your childhood in your 20s are good adults, adults that have their mental, emotional, physical world together. And of course, then they don't have to come from one person. You can have a whole community for that. I think that's what the community is for, right? You can just go for, I don't know, Uncle Sam for financial advice, for example, or you can go to Aunt Mary for boys' problem, and you can go to Aunt, I don't know the names. What are the names? And Anita for girl advice, for example. And you can go for to Uncle Joe for cooking advice because he's a really good cook. And you can go to Aunt Belle, for example, to figure out how to fix your deck. She might have all the tools that you need. All of these things, as long as like you have an adult that got at least one part of their life together, I think it's good because you can have a guidance in how to get there and how to get that little bit of your life together. I guess when I my one of like my biggest mistake is not acknowledging the fact that human resources are probably the best resources that you can get for yourself as you get older, because I was being brainwashed into thinking that doing everything alone is the best way to do it, which is not true. And you don't have to do everything yourself. It is so tiring and it is so unnecessary. But for people who have childhood neglect and abandonment issues like me, Of course, like it's probably the only way we know how to do it, because when we ask for help, when we rely on other people, we get a really severe backlash. But even those people, when we grow up, right, you realize like the problem is not us, the problem is those people. You realize, like, oh, these people haven't got that bit of their life together. So they can't teach us, they can't pass it on because it's not our fault, it's their fault. And also, you have to put like appropriate blame onto the people who are actually doing things wrong, and that's important too. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's enough for today's ramble. I will see you in the next video. If you like this, like and subscribe. I'm Valerie, and I'm a digital creator here. If you want to check out my other works, as a solopreneur here on the internet, you can check out my links in the description box. If you're in Australia and you watch this before the 31st of March 2025, you can check out ING Australia link, and it will, for new customers, they are giving away 125 cash bonus, but you have to follow a lot of like 5 steps of their term and conditions. Yes, all the links are down below. You can check it out for yourself, and hopefully you can get that free cash bonus and spend it on yourself. I'll see you later. Bye, everyone.